You are now live. Now, go for it, John.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this very special quarantine cast. This is the latest edition of MouthOff, the resurrected Hey You Guys podcast. And here are some of the fine Hey You Guys team. You can't see me because my internet is not up to scratch, but there they are, giving you all a bit of a wave. Top left, we have Stefan. Next to him, we have Linda.
With a
and
red
then
wall.
down below, we have
Hi.
Scott. And then there's Dave.
Hi.
In this crazy, messy office. There
Hi.
we go.
No, I tidied it up. Just tidied it up.
Tidied
Like,
it
I put Hey You Guys logo behind me and everything. Attention to detail.
All right, lucky you.
Yeah. What you can't see is the huge amount of boxes that are now off to the side.
Quite right too. So the reason that we wanted to do this is because these are really strange times, and we are all quarantined. We are all social distancing and self-isolating, and that's exactly what we need to be doing. But it's having a real effect, not just on us and on everyone in the world, but purely we're going to look at today how it's affecting the world of film, because we've slowed to a crawl on the site. We're doing what we can to kind of keep people abreast of all the developments, but it's affected us and it's affected what's going to happen, I think, going forward. So we're going to look at a few things today that we've noticed over the last week or so. The first one is the fortuitous launch of Disney Plus, which is Disney's latest streaming service, and it's going to sit alongside Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the rest of them, and it's going to offer all the Star Wars, all the Marvels, and all the Pixar films, and an awful lot more. Before we go into exactly what's on there, who out of us has actually got Disney Plus and has used it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
I have used it
What do you-
once.
I've used it. I haven't watched anything all the way through yet, but I've kind of perused what was on offer.
And what did you think?
Sorry, Linda, go on.
No, go on. No.
Well, so we're similar. We watched The Mandalorian episode 1, and that's all we've done so far.
Is it
what
good?
did I say?
What about you?
Is it good? Yes, it was good. I'm not a mega Star Wars fan. John always mocks me because I'd rather there was more Star Trek movies than there were Star Wars. And then we Stefan, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, no, it was good. And I think Disney Plus, we're so used to these streaming services now that it wasn't difficult to use. It's just there's so much on there that we haven't gone through yet. I mean, I plan to start watching all 600 episodes of The Simpsons tonight, and I'm not going to stop until I've seen every single one of them.
You can just watch the first 200. You can end after that.
It's true.
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, there's quite a lot on there. There's all the classic cartoons, and I think I'm kind of impressed with the amount of stuff they've got in there. They even have the short sort of Pixar, the Pixar shorts that they usually have before the feature. They have all of them on there, which is great if you're into those. So yeah. Anyway, anyone else?
Yeah, I will get it. I will get it eventually. It's quite tough to afford anything at the moment, but I will. The plan is to get it eventually, I think. Yeah. But I've just started Mad Men, so this is me. That's where
brilliant.
I am I'm about 10 years behind everyone else. So I'll watch The Mandalorian in about a decade.
There's no rush. There's no rush.
By that point, Baby Yoda won't be Baby Yoda anymore, will it? It'll be Yoda.
Yeah.
I think the good thing as well to remember with Disney Plus is obviously they've put a lot of Fox content on there as well. So they've got a lot of Fox content, including live action movies. I think Mrs. Doubtfire has got on there, which hasn't been on streaming for a long time, if ever. And they've also got a lot of the Touchstone and Buena Vista stuff as well. So like the live action arm of Disney from the 80s and 90s. So stuff like Three Men and a Baby and all that kind of stuff.
You might as well stop there. That's all the good stuff.
They also have Boy Meets World.
National Geographic as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You just brought Mrs. Doubtfire up so you could do the impression. I know your game, Scott.
Yeah, go on, Scott, do it.
You got to do it now.
I'll save it for later.
Maybe just do the whole rest of the cast in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've also apparently the National Geographic stuff's really good as well. They've got all of that on there as well, haven't they? Which is great for now for kids in terms of their learning and stuff. It would be amazing to watch all that stuff as well as
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah, that's Star Wars. Life's good.
Yeah.
So I'd look
And
at it
John,
last
have you
night.
watched any of it? John?
Yeah, my first impressions of it last night were there was far more on there than I expected. Things like Avatar, which is fantastic because I haven't seen that for an awful long time. The Star Wars stuff is good. Having The Simpsons on tap is actually a really, really good thing. And I went back and started my rewatch, and it's really ropey in the first few episodes, but it's going to be wonderful to just kind of put on and just catch up because we've never had it, I don't think, in the UK, certainly, just to be able to watch like that. They've been on Sky and then they've been on Channel 4, but to have every single one, it's fantastic. You could spend the next 2.5 weeks just, picking and choosing your favourite ones. So it looks great. The whole interface and everything. I think it's great timing for Disney. Obviously not brilliant for the rest of the world, but I think there's going to be a lot of people signing up, particularly as all the kids are off at the moment with all the Pixar stuff. So
I think the Simpsons episode where Homer works from home and just gets really, really fat is resonating quite a lot with me at the moment as well. So I might watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. You can also get 7 days for free. You can try it for 7 days.
They're only giving 7 days, are they?
Yeah.
Feels like it should be a bit more.
7 days.
The world might be over in 8 days, so it's not.
I don't want this to turn into an advert for Disney, obviously, but so far so good, I think.
And we're not for 1 minute
timing.
saying that Disney are anything to do with coronavirus in the UK.
Yeah, no, no way.
No, I think there's humor behind that one. Yeah. So,
okay, so I think we're.
No, go on, sorry. No, I was just wondering what
implications
Disney could have on the future of Disney releases, not just on the film industry. I just wonder if they'll put any of their current kind of films scheduled for cinema releases straight onto Disney Plus. Is there what is the talk behind that?
I can't personally see them sort of bypassing theaters.
No, they make too much money
at the moment, unless they may especially just go on the streaming service. I think they're killing it. They're killing it in cinemas at the moment, and it'd be silly to sort of make a big sort of Marvel movie and put it straight into streaming. But I think in the future, so they could probably have different kind of budget for different productions, and I think they will eventually make films just to go on the streaming service. I don't know what does everyone else think.
Mandalorian was only for the streaming, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but that wasn't
not a feature, though, is it?
No, not features. No,
Series,
I agree with you completely, Linda. I think, isn't there some crazy stat about the amount of money that Disney made compared to the other studios? Like they were responsible last year for a huge percentage of worldwide box office, and I think maybe other studios we might see pushing straight to home end or on demand, but I don't see Disney doing it.
Not Disney.
No.
Yeah.
They've already got it covered because isn't the Marvel stuff going to be like with things like the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, and what's the other sort of MCU stuff that's going directly to it? They're tailor-making content so that you can have that as well as the theatrical. There's never going to be a time where you're going to get a Pixar film, maybe a Pixar short, but you're never going to get a Pixar film going straight, directly to Disney Plus. I don't think.
No. What do you think, Stefan?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think that Disney, like you said, they've just taken over cinema, aren't they? So they guaranteed box office receipts. So I can't imagine they'd be throwing that away. I'm just more thinking about the immediate future. Just if this goes on for 3 months, I just wondered if anything that was scheduled for release in 3 months might go on there, just because otherwise they'll have quite a. I'm thinking more about the future scheduling, because obviously come the end of the year they could have sort of so many films to come out, and they might sort of be stepping on their toes a little bit. But we'll see. I think you're right. I think when it comes to Disney, they're a kind of guaranteed box office hit, so I doubt they'd be sacrificing that anytime soon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's happening now is we are all seeing how various studios and distributors are reacting to what's going on, and we've never seen anything like it in our lifetimes, and it's unfolding so quickly, and people are having to respond so quickly that new ways of working, not only for the studios and for the actors and all the rest of it, but for us as people who love cinema, we're seeing different ways of enjoying our films. So, for example, a lot of the smaller films that were going to be in theatres or cinemas, as we call them here, have either been pushed direct to streaming, or they're setting up special web events so you can watch the film live. Then they will stream like a Q&A. I think Curzon are doing that now. They're having Q&As with the directors following the screen, which is a fantastic idea. But what do you guys think about what's happening in terms of the smaller releases, that maybe the releases that would have got like a smaller theatrical release, finding maybe new life as people are looking more for films on streaming?
For me, I'm always sad when a film doesn't get released into the theatre, because I think it's really important. I think it's important to see it as it was intended, and just to sit down and watch it on a big screen. But at the same time, when you get films like Perfect Candidate, which is I think coming out on Curzon Home Cinema this week. It was supposed to be released in theatres, obviously, this week, but it's still getting like a sort of some kind of release, which is a good thing. And I mean, otherwise, but I'm finding the whole thing really sad, to be honest. I mean, I know more people will get to see it, but I always have like a sinking feeling when I think someone has worked really hard on something and they hoped for us to see it on a big screen, and in the end they have to do with it just going on streaming. Like, I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to big screens. So yeah.
Well, my fear is that we've all been. I think there's been a thing for a while that we've been fearing the end of the sort of independent films having a life in the cinemas, and it becoming a kind of blockbuster event where it just becomes theatres just only show, you know, sort of big Marvel movies and big kind of 3D experiences and what have you. And my fear is that this whole sort of coronavirus stuff is going to just speed up that process, because I think there's always been a fear that, like independent films are just going to start going straight onto, you know, Curzon Home Cinema and sort of BFI player and stuff like that. And my fear is that if this, over the next 3 months, if this works and a lot of these films find an audience that way, in the future, some of the distributors might be more reluctant to put them into cinemas at all. So I think that's been something that's been coming for a while. My fear is that this is just speeding that up, I think.
Yeah, which is sad. I agree with you at 100%. I think it's just going to be another excuse to sort of, another, you know, last nail in the cinema. But we're just being pessimistic, I guess. But I'm really hoping everything will goes back to normal in 3 months' time, and we can all just go back to sort of seeing films where we should be seeing them. I have nothing against films that are made specifically for streaming services. That's fine. If you know that your film is specifically going there. But if a film is made with the intention of it being screened on a big screen, I think it's really sad that it doesn't get that. But, you know, I mean, like, beggars can't be choosers at the moment. So
no.
Yeah.
No, there's one.
I think the other thing as well is...
Sorry, Scott.
So I was just going to say, the other thing as well is that I've noticed, and you guys probably have seen this as well, is that a lot of the independent distributors are kind of pausing on some of even the smaller films to make sure that they get a theatrical release. I mean, if you look at things like that, Rocks was coming out, The Painted Bird, I've got a list here, The Assistant, County Line, St Maud, Carmilla, you know, all of those, even little films like Dream Horse and Our Ladies and stuff, they really, really want people to see it in the cinema, so they're kind of holding their nerve for just to see what plays out, and they've said, we're going to pull it completely, we're not going to put it straight on demand, and they seem to have stuck to putting some films online that have had even a small cinema release, even if it was for a week or two, and then said, okay, given the circumstances, because we'd already booked these in theatres, we're going to put it on streaming. But the rest of them, I think they've, like you say with Perfect Candidate, that's kind of, there's only a few of those that have gone down that path. I mean, even something like The Painted Bird is getting all these amazing reviews and was at festivals, but they're still like, we're not just going to put it straight online. We want people to go to the cinema, even if it is to the BFI to see it, to make sure that they go and do it. Well. I think it just, as Stefan says, how it plays out, and it depends on when the cinemas reopen, just how clogged everything is going to be, whether that makes their decision for them, and that then maybe they can get some more money by putting it online then, when, you know, it might be a case of, you know, we reopen and straight away Mulan and Black Widow take up all the screenings because Disney want to protect their investments on them, and all the smaller films don't get any space even less space than they would in normal circumstances. So I hope it doesn't change, but it just depends how we come out. I think the whole year calendar will change drastically by the time we come out. I think everything will be pushed back, and
will be back.
you think like even Fast and Furious have just put up their hands and said no, we'll whether it's a business decision or not, they've obviously taken the year to wait because it's just going to be so clogged up when we come back out of it. But then maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if you go to the cinema and Mulan and Black Widow are both on, maybe people will go, well, we haven't been to cinema for 3 months, we're going to go and see both. But I just hope the indie stuff gets as much.
Can I also mention
that when we open?
Yeah. Can I mention that Vivarium is also getting a streaming release from, but that's going on several sort of main sites. Not, I think even Sky. If I'm not. If someone check, but I think it's getting good. Like it's going on several sites. That is a bit sad that it's not being released on a big screen because that's a fantastic movie and I think it's favorite films of the year. So,
but at the same time,
anyone else?
It's quite fitting. I was just going to say it's a good, in a weird way, it's quite a good time for it to come out because it's about a couple being stuck inside and how they drive each other absolutely mental. And as a married man, no.
You've got a picture of your wife behind you, it's all right.
Yeah.
It just felt like the themes of the movie is actually quite resonant at the moment about kind of two people just being stuck
with
indoors and how that plays out. So it's actually not the worst time for it to come out. I think they can almost try and exploit the kind of current, I don't know, society and the themes of what's going on in the world to kind of help push the release maybe, but you are right, it's like an art installation, isn't it? I think the director's has a background in like arts and stuff, and it feels like the sort of thing, like the set that it'd be like a walkthrough in the Tate Museum or something. It feels like it's an amazing experience on the big screen. I do agree, but it is quite a good watch, I think, at the moment if you can catch it.
It is,
and we have got an interview with Imogen Poots on HeyUGuys YouTube channel, so check it out. On brand.
Yeah.
What's next? So do we roughly know what other films are coming out on Strix Week? I mean, Scott,
well,
have you looked into this?
Out.
Say that again, sorry.
Oh, so, yeah.
Four Kids in It.
I was
about to say, so 4 Kids in It, I know is coming out.
That's Sky.
Sky one.
Sky.
Yeah. And Scott's got the definitive list, I think.
Yeah. Go on, Scotty.
Yeah, so this week, obviously, you mentioned Vivarium and Perfect Candidate. There's also System Crasher going on this week as well, which is supposed to be very good.
Oh, yeah. It is fantastic.
That's this week. But obviously, there's been a move to premium VOD in the last few weeks. Obviously, a lot of the theatrical releases are either going straight to streaming quicker than anticipated, or their original slated release on home end is being brought forward. So we mentioned Disney Plus. Obviously, Onward is Disney Plus, I think, in the US, but I think it is coming to the UK at some point. But obviously, because of the delayed release, that might be a little while. But obviously, that's a massive Pixar film, and I think, if I remember rightly, its box office dropped for obvious reasons. About 80% in its second weekend, which doesn't ever happen for Pixar movies. So they've taken that call to do that. Universal obviously moved pretty quickly, and they've put The Invisible Man, The Hunt on there as premium releases, so you can rent them for 48 hours. I think it's for $15.99, which, even though it sounds a lot, if you went to the cinema, if a couple went to the cinema, they probably paid 20 quid anyway. So that's pretty good. Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, that's gone on or is going on around the world, I think, or at least in the US and UK. Pretty soon, and then the other big Universal one, which is Trolls 2, which is obviously going to be a huge box office cash bonanza for them. They took the decision pretty quick to put it straight to premium VOD. That's out on April the 10th, which I believe is would have been half-term Easter break anyway. So that's on there. They've just announced. There's Emma as well. Emma's gone on to the premium as well. There's a couple of other smaller movies on there. Military Wives is going on, I think, premium VOD next week. So, there might be a lot of older people, should I say? Well, no, families and everything. It's one of those, a nice heartwarming film that people could watch. But it's the sort of film that if my nan needed something to watch,
it's quite a modern adaptation, though.
Yeah, yeah. There's and then We Danced as well. I think that the VOD for that got brought forward. That's supposed to be very good. I haven't seen that, but that's been playing the festivals
It is.
and everything else. And then the next couple of weeks we will see Birds of Prey. I think has gone on now. I think Birds of Prey went on yesterday. I don't know about the UK, but I think if it's not a few days apart, it's maybe a week apart. But Birds of Prey and The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman's going on. And Sonic has been brought forward as well. So Sonic, I think, is going to be on VOD. Again, it's in the US, but I presume it will be in the UK as well with a slight delay. But that's going on premium release, as is Ben Affleck's new film, The Way Back, which I don't think it had a UK. I don't think it had its UK release or was about to have its UK release. That's going on as well. Whether there'll be any others, I'm sure there will be. I think if I read correctly, that Little Women has been brought forward, but the price is very low, so it's not premium. So it's like $4.99 or $3.99 for a rental, or you can buy it for $4.99, I think, which is pretty good considering it's a. There's that, and obviously Frozen 2 and Star Wars are on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, Frozen 2 was one of the things that launched yesterday when it launched.
Yeah, and obviously Rise of Skywalker is on there as well. So, and I would imagine a few of the others will stick to their releases as they are now, but there might be a few that get brought forward. But in terms of the big ones, they were all the kind of big ones, because at the time it's a quiet time of the year for cinema. I think everyone in January, February, there's a lot of dumping of films, or there's some horror films, this kind of thing. And I think also in April, obviously a lot of as we were saying, a lot of independent stuff was coming out because James Bond was coming out, so everyone kind of moved away from the couple of weeks surrounding Bond before Bond and Mulan. Obviously Black Widow's at the end of May, but I think there was much independent stuff coming out because it was counter programming to Bond and Mulan. So I think there'll be a lot more. I just don't think it will be much of the main stuff. I think all the big stuff worth a lot of money to studios will just come out in the cinemas when we reconvene. I think Wonder Woman got pushed back to August, didn't it, yesterday? So there's that. But there's lots to keep you going. Particularly Trolls 2 for the kids, and Sonic. That's and Onward. And then I haven't seen The Hunter. I'm tempted to give it a rental because I quite like to see it. But then even like Birds of Prey, which didn't have a huge box office, might find another audience on demand at the moment. It probably will, obviously, but it's a good list. And obviously you mentioned Vivarium as well, which is out, I think, on Friday.
Fantastic. I mean, I think out of the films coming out this week, Vivarium, perfect candidate, are the two films I'd say go see, because they're need audience. And I watched Vivarium at Glasgow Film Festival, and I just on a big screen, obviously, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. And so yeah, I really loved it.
Awesome.
It's not all doom and gloom, is it?
So that's
yeah.
Very true.
We'll be fine.
To see. But it's a really strange time because, of course, we just had Parasite winning the best Oscar, and all these people, flooding the cinemas to go to see a subtitled foreign film, which was an amazing thing to see. And now, of course, no one can go out. And a lot of the things that you talked about there, Scott, are films that may not have had great box office, but then would have made their money up on DVD or Blu-ray. But I'm just trying to think about what happens now. How do we go forward? Because the theatrical window, the gap between when a film leaves the cinema and is out on home entertainment, that's been shortening for a long time. Not only with the streaming, but I think Disney were pushing one of their films. I can't remember which one it was, but they were pushing for like maybe an 8-week gap. And I wonder, what are we going to see because of this? Are people who enjoy films, watch films, going to expect a much shorter window, or are we going to see things going back to normal? What do you guys think?
I think you are right. I think we are going to see a shorter window. I mean, with Corona or without Corona, it was heading that way anyway. Eventually, I think distributors are going to have to sort of take the money where they find it, unfortunately. And I think loads of people just want to watch things at home. And but for me, as long as you give people the choice initially for them to see it, and I think most people who really like to go to the cinema go on the opening weekend or the first week, so that's fine. I don't really have too much of a problem with the window being shortened. I think that it can sometimes be a good thing. I do, however, worry about things bypassing theatre completely, and that is where we should all start worrying, because I think going to be heading that way unless something is done.
I wonder if the success of Parasite is actually encouraging some of the studios to withhold some of the independent films, because it was such a revelation, wasn't it, in the box office, that it seems like it just breathed new life into independent cinema. And it felt like it could have been a really huge thing for people to get up and go and see films they might not have usually have seen. So I wonder if the timing's been quite good. Like you said, films like Rocks or Our Ladies and films like that they might have just said, look, let's just whack them onto kind of on demand, but actually maybe because of Parasite it could be what encourages them to hold back and give it the theatrical release they deserve. So maybe we can all thank Parasite, maybe, or
for saving independent cinema.
Yeah, I think in the especially in the I mean, obviously we can talk about the UK, but in the US there's so many art house cinemas and everything else that it can't, the IFC film cinemas and the Lincoln Center and all those kind of things that live and breathe by showing these movies. So I hope it doesn't change, but you're right, I think it might jolt it a little bit for some of the smaller movies. But I think Stefan's right. I think Parasite, in the strangest way, even though it's it's strange to talk about Parasite because it won Best Picture a month ago and it feels like it was a year ago, but
I know, doesn't it? Doesn't it just?
I think Stefan's right in that it has opened up people's minds to just what a movie like that can do. That's not doesn't come with the premature of $250 million shared universe kind of stuff. Really powerful, really original storytelling, and I hope that, coupled with some of the other good films that have come out recently, like Portrait of a Lady on Fire and stuff like that, really does keep it going. But I think you're right. I think the window, if anything, will probably shrink for some. I don't think for all. I can't ever imagine that someone will go, no, I'm not releasing No Time to Die after 8 weeks. You'll have to wait 16 weeks. But for something like, I don't know, but like I've got that Curzon list up here. Something like The Souvenir, I can't imagine that would change. That would not be opposed to changing it to a shorter window, because obviously Curzon have a shorter window anyway, don't they? Because of their
they do. That's why they allow
their DVD releases, apart from Parasite, ironically. So I hope it doesn't change too much, but I think it also depends on how many cinemas I hope it isn't a sad thing, how many cinemas actually survive, because we could be talking about cinemas that aren't able to reopen their doors in 3 months' time, whether that's in this country or in the US, which would be very, very sad. But I don't think it will change too much for the big stuff, but the smaller stuff, I would imagine it will start to shrink a little bit. But whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. I think for some of them, as long as they get seen, it's good. But you're right. I think if people have the choice, as long as people have the choice to see it in the cinema or at home, if they choose, then so be it.
Yeah, I think that especially right now, one of the things that is so difficult is that there's so many people who just can't find work. So many people whose livelihoods have been affected. That this having lots of new releases on streaming services and all the rest of it gives us a chance to pay them, right? Gives them a chance to make some money, and that's what we should be doing. That's what we really should be focusing on now, is how do we make sure that the things we love continue to happen? And we can do that with streaming services, and we can do that with when we can't go to the cinema, we have to find the films elsewhere, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's also worth talking about all the freelancers losing work, freelance writers work over this. And I think last week was literally, I mean, the film, most people were just scrambling for anything to review or to write about. I mean, in actual theatrical releases, I think loads of people are doing top 10s or top 5s or films to sort of cheer you up. I think people are having to sort of really work hard to get some work at the moment, and it's kind of worrying for our profession as film journalists, filmers and interviewers and people like that. You've got nobody to interview because
but it's not just that, Linda, it's all the people who make the movies are currently
Yeah.
stuck in their houses the same. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking at the minute about all the films that aren't being released like now when they were supposed to be. But actually, the knock-on effect is going to be in a year's time. All the films that
Yeah.
were currently in production at the minute are now not in production because no one's allowed out. So this time next year, there's going to be a spate of nothingness where films haven't been
Yeah.
made. Or we'll see more independent films that don't take as long to make, taking the fore again because they're the easiest, not the easiest, they're the quickest ones to turn around. And actually, this time next year, we might just see an awful lot of those films, and actually the big blockbusters that take a long time to finish off and post-production, etc. actually they're now being delayed by 3, 6, who knows how long months. It's a funny old time.
Yeah, it's an industry made up of the self-employed, from cameramen to runners to journalists. Like
100%.
there is literally, it's one of the worst hit industries, I think, isn't it? And we're talking about essential work at the moment, and I mean, there's obviously so much props, obviously like NHS and people in like Sainsbury's and bin men and all these jobs that we've realised have become so essential. And you have realised that what we do, as much as we all enjoy it, what we do and is none of it is essential work. So it's been pushed right to the kind of bottom of the pile as something that we can just resume in a few months. But it could have a knock-on effect on the industry, because from writers, like in our position, the people who make the movies, we've got nothing to do. Like, I've got nothing to do. Sort of
Same.
Nothing.
Do you want to come and look after my children? I need.
Yeah. Actually, I've got a bit of a cough. I might start gardening. That's what it's come to.
Hit a new rock bottom.
Yeah.
I think it's also a good thing to sort of maybe open up your sort of write about other things. I mean, film related, obviously, but other things, not just. I think you can sometimes sort of limit ourselves with what we want to do, because we're doing it week in, week out, and sort of relying on the conveyor belt of films coming out, and suddenly finding that isn't the case anymore. It's sort of helping thinking about other stuff, and
there'll be some great films.
It's challenging.
Coming out.
It's challenging.
But, yeah, no, I was just thinking about the creativity now, because what you have got is all these writers and creatives stuck indoors. And the one thing people always say, they've never got time to write anything. We've all got time now. So I'm imagining there's probably going to be a lot of great stories being written. And
I'm looking forward to your first feature, Stefan. I can't wait for your first feature.
Yeah. It's going to be a tale about a man gardening. That's what it's.
How many films do you reckon this time next year are going to be greenlit for Corona related documentaries, feature, everything, like theatrical, everything?
I'm not looking forward to that, to be honest with you.
No, when Michael Moore starts making a film about Corona, I'm out.
No, exactly. I'm out. Yeah. Unless you can make it interesting,
there'll be a lot of creatives hopefully using this time well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So if you're out there trying to make a film about Corona, please don't.
Or maybe one. We'll let one person. One thing we haven't said. One thing we haven't said on this is obviously we're live streaming this, and if you want to see more live streams from us chatting away about nonsense or less, not necessarily Corona related, then please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channels as well. Cool.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone.
This is how we sign out.
Yeah, all right.
I've enjoyed being the disembodied voice of everything. Is everyone okay?
Sorry,
I want to know, is everyone okay? Are you doing all right over there, everyone, in your isolation? Good, I'm pleased.
Other than Stefan gardening, I think we're doing all right.
Good. I'm in the basement.
The world would be beautiful.
I've turned my basement into an office. Corona's
there you go.
Do this.
See? There you go.
Is your basement now like has it got loads of tinned goods in it ready for the apocalypse? Is it become like Cloverfield?
I've got a toilet paper fort and everything.
Every home should have one. Okay. Well, I guess let's draw it to a close then. Thank you everyone for tuning in and for watching. And we'll hopefully be back with more of these. So stay safe, everyone. Be good, and we'll see you later.
Take care.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Bye.